Hey, live on Pat Soundbytes Unplugged podcast. Keeping new music alive on the radio, on Zoom chats, on video, any way I can get it. And man, do I got a cool show for you today. It doesn't get any, I say it every time, it doesn't get any better than this. It continues to get better. I got this guy, blues, rock, guitar, sensation, incredible. I mean, I could go on with adjectives. It's, I don't know where these, there's something about Texas and blues and guitar players, and you know that. Johnny Winters, Stevie Ray, Jimmy Vaughan, T-Bone, Freddie King, Albert Collins, and of course, my man Billy Gibbons and Eric Johnson, and the list goes on and on. Even though this guy was born in Louisiana, he's definitely drinking a lot of Texas blues and rock water because he's got it all going on. His name is Mr. Clay Melton, and Clay is coming to Daryl's house on Sunday, April 30th. Tickets are available. We're going to sell this thing out. You want to see and hear this young man play. So get your tickets today, darylshouseclub.com, or call definitely 845-289-0185. And if you follow me, you know what I do. I want you to get a taste of blues rocker, Mr. Clay Melton. So all I can tell you right now is crank it up and listen to this track, his first single of his upcoming album that he's working on currently. And this song is called Alive on the Wire, as you see the logo, the little picture behind me. So turn it up and listen to this.
Yeah, I might make mistakes, but who's to say if I'm better or worse for it? Get up, get moving, I'll show you something. Hey, it's alright, what we got. It's gonna get you feeling high for tonight. Don't you worry, babe, I feel alive, live on a wire.
Bring him back. Where are you, Clay?
Hey, Pat.
Hey, man, holy crap. That thing you just jumped right into it. You got that cranked, and I'm like, holy, who is this guy? Clay, thank you for your time, man. I got a big smile on my face because this is right up my alley, as I mentioned to you before, having this teacher tell me, dude, rock is great, but it's all about the blues and the rock, man. So thanks for joining us today. Are you where are you at today? You home down in Louisiana, or?
I'm home just for a couple more days here in Houston, Texas is where I'm living nowadays. And yeah, we got a couple more days before we hit the road for the spring.
Yeah, I see that. Coming to the Tin Pan Music Hall in Richmond, Virginia, then up to PA, to Massachusetts, and then right here at Daryl's house and the Iridium. So, man, fasten your seatbelts. Well, that makes sense. Born in Louisiana, but lives in Houston. I mean, come on. I mean, yeah, where else would you go, right? I gotta get down there. I've never been to Houston. Been all around, but never been to Houston. I know this guy. I got to talk to this guy. I know he'll get me to Houston, but
no lie.
man, Clay, man, you're hitting it out of the park. I like I said to you earlier, I can't get enough of following you. You got this live thing going on. You are a guy and your band that you have to see live. I mean, not that I can certainly listen to a Live on the Wire all day long, or Back to Blue or whatever, but you are a live guy, man. When you got to have that place jumping. So what I always start out with, Clay, is where did you find your love for music? What's your fondest memories in the house? Mom and dad, brother had an album. How did it all start for you?
My first opportunity to really spend time with music where I could kind of independently go through and spend time with albums was when I was probably 8 or so, my dad gave me his cassette collection in a briefcase, and it had a lot of classic country, Willie Nelson, George Strait, had ZZ Top. It had classic rock in there, all kinds of stuff like that. And so that was my first time sitting down with music. But whenever I was riding my dad's car when I was 10, and he put on Hendrix's version of All Along the Watchtower.
Oh,
And that
baby.
solo, yeah, I was sold. I was like infatuated with guitar from that moment on. And that really is what set it off for me.
And Christmas present, birthday present, man. That's all. I don't want to play baseball. I don't want to play football. Just give me. I want to be like that guy. Give me that guitar. And what was your first guitar that you got and learned
Well,
from?
whenever I heard Hendrix, I had gotten this like Toys R Us guitar a couple years prior. It was missing a couple strings. It was all out of tune. It had a speaker underneath the strings where pickups would go. That you press a button and it sounded quote unquote electric. And I was trying to sound out Hendrix songs just playing that thing, and I'm sure it sounded terrible. So about a year of that, and I'm sure my fan was fed up, and I was asking for a guitar. And when I turned 11, I got like a Stratocaster knockoff and started going at it.
Did dad or anybody play an instrument in the house? Anybody else play guitar? Or they said no, we want you to be a lawyer or a doctor.
No, nobody was a musician. Both my parents played piano when they were younger, but did play whenever I was growing up. But they were always listening to music and sharing music with me, which I'm really grateful for. And whenever the conversation came around about dropping out of college and doing music, that's a different conversation than, but I'm just thankful because, from both my mom and my dad separately got encouragement along the way. And, my mom was a little bit harder to convince of dropping out of college and stuff. They stuck by me, and I'm really grateful for it.
Oh, that's excellent. Hey, that's what it's about. I'm a parent of two. I used to have jet black hair, Clay, but I got two 30-plus-year-olds, and I just tell them, reach for the stars. I'm not going to tell you not to do it. And dreams do come true. I always say hard work pays. How bad do you want it? And find a job. Find something that you love, that it's not a job, that you just grab the guitar, whatever you do. Just, I don't want to hear, I had a bad day. No. Find something, learn from my mistake. I always wanted to do this, but I had a different path here or there, but I always got back to this. This was my love, my enthusiasm and passion. This is real me. This is like, and I get to play on my show whatever I want. No disrespect to corporate radio, but I did the ZZ Top, I did the Skinner, I did the George Strait. I love all kinds of music. I love country. I've done that before, and rock, obviously, and pop. But I found my niche, and it was new music because I didn't feel like nobody was doing enough about it. And before you know it, I get 20 CDs in the mail from people I have no idea. And then I get this guy. And that's actually how I met Billy, was playing his solo music. And
cool.
We became friends ever since. And I've been on that path. So good for you. And good day your parents support you. And, you can always tell mom I can take classes online. I don't know, squeeze it in between gigs here and there. Well, that's cool. Did you play? Were you involved with a band in school, chorus, any of that?
Not through the school at all. Whenever I was probably in 6th grade, I became friends with my buddy Kyle Tomchesson, who today is our tour manager. But we got together first, and I would ride over my bike with an amp on my handlebars and a guitar on my back, and he played drums, and we would just jam in the garage forever. And then we kind of graduated to like block parties and crawfish boils in the neighborhoods. And around 13, I was once again lucky that my dad was willing to drive me out to some jams in Houston and convince the bar owner to let me in this bar. And I was real lucky that Houston has always had a rich music and blues history, but had a very welcoming scene whenever I started going out to those jams. And I met a lot of older players who taught me a lot of great lessons and mentored me kind of growing up. So I started playing. By the time I was 15, 16, I wasn't hanging out with my high school friends. I was going to play in Ice House, somewhere in Texas on the weekends.
You definitely drank the water and got the bug, man. That's cool. And now I just lost my train of thought. Well, so where did you find the confidence to perform on stage. Have you ever done that before? Were you ever afraid of like public speaking, or it just was natural? Like, hey, this is what I'm doing.
I definitely was because by nature I'm more of an observer than someone holding court or public speaking and stuff like that. But I enjoy playing music so much, and whenever I started going out to the jams, I just had so much fun. And it was like I'd fallen in love with playing guitar, but then I fell in love with the live experience, which still today is something I can't replicate anywhere else, and is still like the biggest payoff for doing all this. Is really it's all it means to him because we want to go play live shows because it's the best moments. And so I don't know if it was a confidence thing or just more that I just had so much fun doing it that I just was going to try, whether it was good or bad, you know?
You remember the first time you heard one of your songs on the radio that you said, whoa, holy, is this really happening?
It is weird. It's very odd, you know, and but they're cool moments, you know, little things like that, and the support from, you know, people like you that wants to share, you know, music that hasn't been heard and stuff like that from new artists. That's I mean, that goes such a long way when you know, are taking your first steps or trying to, you know, come up to a new area that we've never been before, like we are right now, you know, up to Pauling. And so it means a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the challenges for somebody trying to break in, and like I said, I get 20 CDs a week, people with little notes. Please just listen to it and play it. And I would say to my wife, look, mute Mike and Molly and listen to this. Who is this person? And it just gravitated because, you know, when I hear people say, well, rock is dead, there's no good music, I'm like, look, I don't know what you're listening to, but if you follow me, and it was just a matter of time that I built my listening audience that people know. I mean, calamari, you can't go wrong. And being from New York and I'm crazy Italian, you know, it's like, pull that guy. He might play it for you. But no, I love it, man. That's cool. Tell me who's in your band. Who's coming up to Daryl's house with you? We got to show some love for those guys.
Of course, man. Can't do it without them. You know, we're a three-piece, so everybody's role is so important. Zach Grindle on the drums, who I've been playing with since our debut album in 2017. He's phenomenal. I remember the first phone call I had with him whenever he had just gotten out of the Army, actually, and we met through our mutual friend and our still producer, Sebastian Cure. And, you know, I said, what are your influences? And he said, I like John Bonham. I hit my drums hard, and I want to rock and roll. And I was like, all right, man. Sounds like we'll get along great.
Yeah, I want that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Zachary Cox on the bass guitar. And I've known him since middle school. We played in a kind of a hard rock group in high school together, along with Kyle, our tour manager. And what I love about playing with him is, you know, he's a multi-instrumentalist and he was a guitar player first. So he really gets where I'm coming from whenever we're arranging as a band. And I just like that he brings that angle to the table. And so he joined the group about a year and a half ago. And it's been great. So it'll be us three up there in Pauling.
Yeah. Talk to me about a live on the wire. Talk to me about your songwriting process, Clay. I mean, you're a young guy, so I don't know how many broken relationships you've had or any of that craziness, but, you know, it's based on, you know, what you've been through in life and experiences and stuff like that. But how does where do they come from? Does it start with the guitar riff? You're driving, you hear a phrase. How does that work for you?
You know, for me personally, you know, and I know a lot of artists like this, it's not one approach or one way that I go about it. It can be anything that starts the song. You know, before I had such a consistent group, I was always writing and would demo out a little more precisely before I really shared it with anybody in any group. You know, I'd program drums and things like that. But nowadays, I tend to just bring in songs, you know, having their verse, choruses, and bridge, and having a song. But then I try not to arrange too much until I get in the room with the band, because that's really now my test nowadays is, do we want to do we feel compelled just to jam this because we're having fun playing it ourselves? And if we do, that's a good test for me to know the song might have legs and is worth chasing, you know? So we arrange as a group nowadays.
Yeah, no, I always say, look, I'm not a musician at all, but with the whole COVID thing, you know, back in, you know, when you're talking to somebody like Billy that, you know, years ago in the 70s, they're in a studio, and now here we go, fast forward in 2023. or 2020 and you get COVID and you're sending tracks back and forth, I think you lose the magic when you have the two other guys with you and you go, look, I got this idea. And they go, well, let's take it this way. Let's take it that way. And then obviously you get a good producer who's a great listener and doesn't take away from what you're trying to do, doesn't over influence with their ideas and lets you go with it. And then but it's pretty cool. Like I said, the videos that I've seen you is all pretty much live, and the joint is jumping. I mean, I don't say that a lot. There's a lot of bands that there's just anytime you go to a live show, that's a great thing. But there are certain bands that, we go on the vinyl or whatever you're using, and you go, yeah, you're cool. But there's some bands you got to see this man and his other two guys coming up to Daryl's or any of his shows. And we'll talk about his website in a second, Melton.com. But tell me about the song.
Yeah, Alive on a Wire. So Alive on a Wire, and then another single that we put out just last week, Runner, are both our first studio projects since our live album that we released last year. And we kind of went back to a DIY approach for these songs. We had been working in studios with producers in the room for pretty much the life of the band. But I think this was kind of born out of the process of work that we found during the pandemic, because we kept writing and recording and stuff during that time. And so Alive on a Wire was recorded right here in my living room in Houston. And we just did it ourselves. We don't have a lot of fancy mics or anything. We just use what we bring on the road. But it allows us to spend time with the songs, to sleep on an idea and come back to it at any point in time, and to really get experimental too. And so we're still working, like I mentioned, with our producer, Sebastian Cure, who we originally worked with when he lived in Austin, Texas. But during the pandemic, he moved back to his home in Barranquilla, Colombia. So we've been doing all of our mixing remotely with him. But just like you were saying, when you have a producer that really gets what you're going for, it changes everything. And that's why this process has worked for us, because Sebastian just really gets what we want out of a mix. And when he sends that first mix back, it's pretty dang close, So I can't ask for more. We're fluid. We're able to do more recording because it's cost effective and it's fun,
It's got to be like a pinch me moment, like when you hear something, your own little baby that started with a little recipe and you put things in a blender and then you send it to somebody who's got a great ear, who understands where you're going, and then sends it cooked, and you go, did this really happen? This is what I created. And, next minute it's on the radio and then you're playing it live and then people are buying the album. As you mentioned, live in Texas, and I'm reading here, the Roots Music Report, it's the actual #1 independent music chart in the world, ranked Clay at the time of the album's release on the blues rock charts in 3 categories, not one. The #1 song in the world for the title track, Back to Blue, the #9 album in the world on the blues rock chart, and the #7 album in Texas for all genres of music. Man, Clay, can you beat that? I mean, obviously. What do you think when you hear that? Is this really happening for me?
That definitely that feeling, and also just it's so interesting to see what people respond to, because you just don't know. Every time you put out anything, which is fun, but I mean, you can't ask for more whenever it's positively, received like that. And it gives us an idea that, all right, something we're doing is working, so let's keep cranking it out.
Yeah, and then from the feedback of doing the shows, right? If
shows
it was
tell us
like
everything.
If it was like, you wouldn't see a crowd. But when you start building that momentum, you're honing your craft as an incredible guitar player. When you listen to this song and it just jumps right in, that's what it's all about. I mean, that's what people want. They want to move around, they want to dance, they want to understand it, and they want to see you have fun and the other guys have fun. Like, look, we're on top of the world. I mean, I would guess, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a musician, but there's got to be no better feeling than feeling that energy from a live audience.
Yes. The moment that I'm trying to chase every night for myself and hopefully help others in the crowd experience, is like a feeling that I get when I'm either on stage or even attending a show. Is that moment where like the drummer does something out of nowhere that he never usually does, and it's just extra cool, and you kind of get this like stank face where it was so cool it hurts, you know, and it kind of gives you goosebumps. And like I said, I get that on stage and when I see shows, and those are like kind of the moments I try and I want to create for all the audiences this year, you know.
Yeah, and you know what? You don't want to be like the record when you're on a live when you're playing live. I mean, yeah, you can
You
jam.
couldn't make us.
You could, right? Yeah, I sense that. It's like, no, you get 90% of it, but that 10% can take off all over the place. And then the
Yep.
next night it could be totally different. And that's what makes it. I mean, that's what that drives me crazy, that I want to go to a live show. You're working on the album. Is it complete? Any guess on when it's going to be released? A title? You're still is that still work in progress for the most part?
Yeah, it's still work in progress. You know, we're at really a turn of the page to a new chapter with the band this year. We signed with a new booking agency, Hungrier Agency, who's booked this most recent run and for the rest of our year. And we're busier than we've ever been, and which is great. But now we're doing all right. When we're off the road, we're going to be in the studio working on the new album, which is great because all this new material gets to get worked out in front of audiences as we're completing the album. So we're looking for like a spring 24 full album release, but we got some other plans for releases throughout the end of the year.
Cool. You ever? You probably have. I mean, just try it out at a show just to see the feedback. Hey, it's not on an album yet. We're thinking about it. Tell us what you think, right? And you throw it out there.
Yeah, you know we like to just play it. Don't tell them it's new. You know, people might think they just haven't heard that one, but it tells us a lot. Because when you tell them it's new, then there's already kind of they're listening to it differently than experiencing
Right.
it, you know. But whenever we just bust into it and usually like just, you know, transition straight from another song into it, then it tells us a lot, you know, about the parts of the tune that maybe need work or whatever.
Well, I went through that with the whole COVID thing. I mean, I was always doing phone interviews, and then we get into the Zoom thing. We should have took stock in it. I don't know what we were thinking.
Right.
Right? You know? And you know, it was interesting to talk to you know, national acts like of Billy or somebody. They're so used to putting out an album and then touring. And I'm like, and they were like reluctant to put out new music while we were home. And I'm like, no, put it out. Just to answer what you were saying. So when you finally get back on stage and you're into song number 4 and you say, hey, this is a new song, and people aren't going to the bathroom and grabbing a beer, they know it already. They should know it already. If they follow you enough, they know the whole album. So I'm like, no, put it out, keep putting it out. I mean, when you're sitting home and I look around my office here with all the pictures of you know, me and Billy or whoever, it's like, am I ever going to be able to do this again? You know, my first time back at Daryl's house, I'm hugging everybody. So I'm sure it had to be the same thing for you the first time you get back on stage and go, thank you, Jesus, right? Lad, we need this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because there's no replacement for it. As we saw with all the online shows and ways we kind of tried to satiate ourselves with live music when we couldn't all be together in one room. But it was very cool, even though the music would have been greatly appreciated during that time. It was so cool when everything started opening up again. Everybody had a new album, you know. It was just a flood of music because everybody. You know, I think it's kind of a muscle memory for artists to, like you said, want to tour it after they put something out. You know.
Exactly. All right, so you are a guitar-driven guy, and I don't play, and all my listeners say, you got to ask some gear questions. So talk to me, what's your go-to guitar, your pedal, your effects, your amp. Let's hear it so they all hear it.
Yeah, actually.
There you go.
Right here.
Look at
This
that
is my
bad
go-to
boy.
Strat. Yeah, it's just an American Strat with some pickup mods on it. I actually have Billy Gibbons' Pearly Gates in the bridge, and then some Texas Specials and a couple other mods just for spec and stuff. The pick guard's just a black pick guard with like some acrylic paint on it that I can't believe hasn't chipped off. I've had it on there since probably like 2016. Ex-girlfriend painted it. And then, I'm plugging into a Fender amp. This is actually my rig right behind me for the road. We've been rehearsing in here. I've pretty much run a couple pedals, a couple drive pedals, some reverb and delay. Nothing fancy on the pedal side, just something to kind of wake up the single coils. And then I plug into a Fender Vibra King, which has, for the gear nerds, 3 10-inch speakers. And then I run bypass the pedals and go straight into that Marshall, which has a 212 cabinet. And it's a cool little marriage of tones.
Never enough guitars, right, Clay? You can never have
I
enough
just need
guitars.
one more.
That's what everybody says. But again, I'm not a musician. I don't want to repeat myself, but I go, what you want with a song, and a certain guitar is going to bring that certain tone.
Yes.
So if you don't have it and you're stuck with the same, Strat or whatever you use in Gibson, it's the same. It's same. Like, you got to mix it up. You want to do something different. So
it's
mom
like
and dad.
cooking.
Yeah, mom and dad's another excuse to get Clay more guitars so he can expand on the new album that he's working on. Well, that's good. What's your personal favorite thing about being a musician?
The live shows, 100%. And even more so, getting to tour. Because I've always that was a part that always attracted me about being a professional musician is I love to travel and love to see new places and meet new people, and it's the most fun. But the live, like I said, the live aspect is really the ends to the means for us. It's everything we do so we can get out there and play these shows.
And the live aspect is coming here to Daryl's house on Sunday, April 30th, in our backyard, and we want to sell the place out as much as possible. We've been blessed to have the great Eric Gales and Albert Castilla and Walter Trout and Mike Zito and you name it, we've had them. And we got this guy coming back, and Anna Popovic, and once he comes back once, he'll be back all the time. Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't get any better than that. Where can they, so Alive on the Wire is on Spotify. Can they download it right now or do any of that good stuff?
Yeah, it's all our music is on all the streaming sites, and then we have physical CDs and things like that for sale on our website. All our tour dates, merch, music, and everything is all on claymelton.com, and it's Clay Melton Music on social media.
Clay, man, you're hitting it out of the park, man. That's a great story. I'm in a car and I'm hearing Jimi Hendrix Watchtower. I'm like, man, there's something about this. That is cool. And people have they put you. I read a quote. If you think of Clay, you could put John Mayer and Jimi Hendrix together, and you get Clay Melton. I'm like, wow, now that's saying something. Where's the direct? What do you want out of all, Clay? Is it about the accolades? Is it about Grammys, or is it about just people enjoying what you've been able to put out there?
Yeah, I couldn't care less about awards and things like that. Personally, I just I want to, the places that we're playing this year, a couple of years from now, I want to come through and sell them out, all out, and just take our music as many places as possible. And keep pushing the envelope. And, I'm not worried for rock and roll or the electric guitar, because I think people will never get tired of seeing real people with real instruments in their hands making the music happen in real time. And that goes for all roots styles, and so I just want to continue to share that with the world and encourage young players, too, to pick up the instrument.
Yeah, that's a good one, too. What advice would you give to a person maybe a little younger than you that goes, I don't know, It's funny, somebody told me during COVID that a lot of guitar stores were selling out of instruments, which was like, wow, really? And if you try to find something between the whole imports and all that stuff, it was hard to get equipment. But what advice would you give somebody that is just starting out, Clay?
If you have the opportunity, or if there's, if you live in a city or nearby enough to where there's live shows, or even better, live jams that you can get out to, I think the best thing you can do is start playing music with other people if you haven't already. That's where I learned all my earliest lessons. And it's just when you're in this live environment, you learn at an accelerated rate and at real-time lessons because you're having to do it on stage. And just don't be scared to make a mistake. That's why little kids are great at learning new things and new instruments. It's because they're not afraid to fail. They're not afraid of sounding bad. They're just going for it. And so if you can not worry about sounding good, just go out there and have fun, and play with other people, or at least go see a show. You'll learn just by watching.
I love it. And you know what? I don't care what people say. We're all, this word failure, we learn from failing, and and we keep learning, and it builds more experience. And not that you want to fail, but it's not a bad thing at all, because you wouldn't know if it was good or bad, right? So
Yeah,
it's crazy that there's so many artists I interview, rock stars. Everybody lives in Nashville because they say what you just said. Besides no state tax, they gravitate with different songwriters and play with different people, and they break out of their element. To me, I was a classic rock guy, but I could play anything. When I see somebody like Taylor Swift that starts in country and now is a sensational pop star, or I see a Post Malone, doing an album with Ozzy Osbourne, all barriers are off. It doesn't matter anymore. It's music. Anyway you look at it, right? So, well, Clay, what question didn't I answer? What do you do for a hobby besides, like, for 5 minutes when you're not in the studio and grabbing a guitar?
It's not a super exciting answer, but my grandmother was a librarian, and I got dropped off at her library my entire childhood. And she would watch me there, and so I love to read and stuff like that, and write a little bit. But other than that, I got a 70-pound pit bull, and we go out and do things together. We're doing a little fly fishing this summer. So just stuff you can enjoy down here in the South.
There you go. And reading has got to be great because it gives you more ideas, different stories to help with your songwriting process, right?
It definitely does. When I read, just you get an understanding for different authors' voices, and it's interesting sometimes when I've been reading more than usual. I'll see it kind of seep into my songwriting.
No, pretty good. And I love that cover of Jesus Just Left Chicago. Good for you.
Thank you.
That was cool. I got to share that. If you haven't run into the Reverend, and if he doesn't know that, we need to let him know so he could watch it and get his feedback on it.
It would be an honor.
Cool. I will work on that for you. Right now, we got to sell out Daryl's house. So you mentioned the website. You're on all the socials, right, Clay? Facebook, Clay Melton Music, YouTube, and I'm sure Instagram and everything else. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Clay, thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I have, and I am looking forward to hanging out with you guys and seeing you Sunday on April 30th at Daryl's house.
I'll see you then. I appreciate you having me on.
Check this cat out. He's the real deal. Born in Louisiana, but drinking that Kool-Aid from Texas. The same Kool-Aid from Johnny Winter, the same Kool-Aid from Edgar Winter, Stevie Ray. It goes right down the list. And he's living in Houston now. So forget about nothing against Louisiana. I like Louisiana, but Texas, man, there's something about it. He's at the right spot in the right time. Go check him out. And check me out on Pat Soundbytes Unplugged podcast. Don't forget, go to my YouTube and all that stuff as Clay's as well. And hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and share it with your friends because it's all about these dumbass formulas. What can I tell you? Thanks, Clay.
Thanks a lot.